It's obvious I've been around for a while. In fact, I've passed the 70. But as old as I am, Edison preceded me by quite a bit. Now, while he may not have invented the light bulb, he sure did a lot to improve the light bulb. He also invented or developed a method to produce energy and get the energy where he needed to light the light bulb. One of the early uses of the light bulb was by the mechanic. When you had a trolley car, steam engine, tractor, car, truck, whatever that needed to be fixed, it became very useful to have a light to see what needed to be fixed. There was one big problem. The early light bulb was a 360-degree light-emitting bulb, and so the light that not only got to where you needed it to fix something, the result on the back side of that is it got directly in your eyes. Well, it didn't take too long, and the mechanic was very enterprising, and he developed a reflector in order to keep the light out of his eyes, but also to focus the light more directly onto the work surface. But there still were a lot of problems with the early mechanic trouble lights. The bulb itself became extremely hot, so hot that if you laid it down it burned something. If you got too close to it, you got burned. There was a filament that produced the light, and if the bulb got banged or bumped in the slightest, the filament broke. Then if you were working in the wintertime and ice water or even solvents such as gas were to drip on this bulb, most of the time the bulb would explode. The bulb was glass, it was very fragile, and if it was dropped, it broke. But over the years, because of all the problems, the mechanic work light became known as trouble lights, and that name has stuck even to this day. The industry has worked very hard on making various improvements for the mechanic work light. One of the earliest improvements was what they called a rough surface bulb, where the filaments within the bulb were toughened up and made much stronger. Then they put a rubber coating on to make it much stronger, but also that if you dropped the bulb and it broke, you would not have glass all over. Well, along came what became known in the industry as compact fluorescent lamps. The early one was a twin tube, and while we worked on developing that into an application for the work lights, the ballast was remoted. It was not bright enough really, and we were not real successful with our early use with the compact fluorescent. But as compact fluorescents continued to be developed, it was not long before we had multiple twin tubes. We had electronic ballast where it was housed inside the casing itself. And then to make it even stronger, we developed a plastic shield. To further protect that bulb, we put a rubberized coating on this bulb, and then we added a rubber washer to pick up much of the shock absorbing when it was dropped and banged. But it still had some problems. Glass was glass, and glass had a tendency to break. But once the lighting evolution continued, we went from linear light source to a spiral lamp. That was much stronger. There was much less places for the bulb itself to break. We took it the next step. We encased it in a solid plastic housing. We added a revolving hook on the top, and we eliminated a lot of the problems. Even on this one, we added a washer to pick up some of the shock, but there were still some problems. Basically, in this application, we had all the weight of this unit directly on the screw shell, and we also still had the glass of the compact fluorescent. It was still glass. But once the evolution continued and LEDs became affordable, the early ones were not. They were very expensive. They were limited in colors. But as the cost came down and as the white LED became available, and because they were so very energy efficient, we moved more and more towards an LED. LEDs were so energy efficient that our government passed the law that the incandescent, as we knew it over the years, was going to be phased out. Well, once the LEDs became affordable, then we thought about how can we add them to a Gorilla replacement work light. After much thought, and the criteria that it had to be very similar in size to an incandescent light bulb because it had to replace this light bulb within the reflector, we developed what we know as the QTop Gorilla Light. It's very similar in size, as I said. There is no glass to break in an LED. LED is very cool. You're not going to scorch yourself or burn a carpet and anything else. It's resistant to water, ice, solvents such as gas. It has extremely long life. It's very energy efficient in the fact it's 50% more efficient than a CFL. And out of that, we developed a unit with the proper placement of LEDs that we now have a replacement Gorilla work light that produces more usable light than a 100-watt light bulb. The QTop patent pending replacement work light is definitely the work light for today, and it's going to be the work light for tomorrow. And Steve is going to demonstrate some of the features and benefits of this work light, and then Thatcher is going to come and talk to us about a replacement cage that is probably the strongest and best of the industry. Steve?